Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
What is going on? Welcome back to Survivor News, covering Survivor Season 48, Episode 7. I feel like we're in a murder mystery, but let's keep it rolling. Welcome back to the podcast, the winner of Ghost Island and the co-owner of the Gas Lamp Hotel, which is in Philadelphia. I was in Boston this past week for the RHAP live event, and there were two people that I spoke to that are coming to Philly, and they booked at the Gas Lamp Hotel. So I said I would deliver that message.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome back to the podcast, Wendeezy.
Thank you very much, Brice. Hey, whoever those two are, thank you guys very much for the support. DM the Brice and Wen account so we can make sure that we know who you are, unless Brice will just tell me after the pod.
So we got other guests to get to, but I specifically said once I tell him that, this will be the response. And so somebody, I don't bet money, but somebody owes me money.
I know that's
also,
right.
Let's welcome.
Wait a minute. Is it you that booked the? Are you talking about yourself? Did you just like?
I said two people. Okay. So I might be the second person. But listen, let's also welcome to the podcast. He is a man of mystery. He also has been dropping these photos from his movie that will be dropping. And also he gave us a notification that little brick from his first feature film will be headed to YouTube. Let's welcome back to the podcast, the Jack Shack, always loud and what?
Loud and right.
Oh, now wait a minute, Jack. Okay. Jack has had, if you are listening to the audio podcast, welcome, but you should head over to YouTube, to the Brice Izyah YouTube. Jack has had his camera off for the last 5 minutes, and he had this big reveal. He has now turned his camera on, and the lackluster.
Well, I thought I got a little injury. I thought you guys were moving up.
Oh, wait, is that a black eye?
Exactly.
Did you meet up with Say?
Exactly, and I knew that's exactly what I was gonna say. And I knew you guys were gonna ask before we started the podcast. I was like, I gotta save this for the pod, so I had to go camera off. Yeah, some Say fans caught me outside last night, and they were just unhappy with how red I was. So they had to give me a little talking to and a little black eye.
Does the Jack Shack need to arise?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, now time out, Jack, because we got to get to our guests, and then we're going to circle back to this. But we have the honor, the privilege of welcoming royalty to the Survivor News family. You may remember her from Survivor Season 41, but also she's my boo. Welcome to the podcast, Sara Wilson. What's up, Sara?
Thank you. So excited to be joining. Took a little break from Survivor, but we're back. So excited to be joining today and talk some shit. Or not shit. Talk some regular stuff as well.
Let's talk shit.
You are in the right podcast, Sara, this season. Now, Jackery.
Yes.
You know what? Because maybe I come in too hot. Wendeezy, handle this, please, because I'm confused.
Okay, Jackery. I guess I'm asking you about this shiner that is on your eye.
A shiner.
Is that what you want me to ask him?
Yes.
Right? Okay, Jack. Yeah, let's get into it. Jack, can you get really close so we can get a nice view? Ooh.
No.
Ooh. So the same military pulled up on you, or what? What are they?
Okay. Before Jack gives us our answer, we should, as a panel, try to figure this out, because my theory is Jack in the middle of the night went into his refrigerator to get one of those enchiladas that he gets from Trader Joe's and opened the refrigerator door and it hit him in the eye. That's what I'm going with.
Okay. Wendell, what's your theory?
I think Jack was trying to do something athletic. Jack talks a lot of Jack says he's a hooper. I think Jack was trying to do a sport and might have caught a bow to the face, even though Jack is like 6'8". I don't know. There's not a lot of people that are that tall to bow you, but I think it was a bow via some athletic activity.
Okay. mean-
Sarah, please help.
I don't know. I mean, he's just such a stand-up guy. He's probably trying to rescue a cat out of a tree or something.
Thank you.
Oh,
In the cat didn't like it.
Something like that.
Another theory, because I guess I'm a member of the Jack Shack, and I got my notifications turned on to the Jack 21 Instagram, and
There
he
you
had
go.
a pool party last weekend, and he was DJing, and maybe you was playing Nuck If You Buck, and I feel like Cache might have been like Nuck If You Buck, and bop right in your eye, Jack.
Wait, you were on the right. So I did post about this on my Instagram story. I don't know if that's what Wendell. It was during a basketball game that I received.
When you were handing out water?
Damn. No, we were a championship game of my league. I was guarding someone on a rebound and they jumped up and headbutted me in the cheek. So that was painful. But
It couldn't have been an elbow because they're too short, right? So
no,
their
it
head
was-
they're jumping. Damn.
Exactly.
Well,
But unfortunate to say, unhappy to say we lost the championship, but it was a valiant effort from the squad. So can't complain.
I'm sorry about that.
Wendeezy, does that add injury to insult when you get headbutted and you don't take the chip home?
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, was it worth it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
We're all
You
good.
yeah.
Yeah. It was a
What
great
were your
season, man. Come on.
What were your numbers looking like, Jack? How were you playing?
I mean, championship I only had 5, but I had probably 8 to 10. We played a good team. They played zone. I was top of the high post. I was dishing out. They had to stop playing zone because I was dishing. Semifinals, I had 15, 13, and 6. And then the game before that, I had 16 points, 21 boards. So
Okay, Jack. So you're playing. Okay.
we were getting
Sarah, what are boards?
Over my head. I have no idea.
Because boards
Rebound.
sound like
rebound.
rebound. So why wouldn't we just say rebound?
Because if you really ball, you just call it boards.
Oh.
You said how many rebounds? 21.
21.
So what was the middle school you were playing against?
21.
No, the team we played in the championship was very good. The first, not to get too in it, the first 2 games we played, I wasn't there. We lost to them by 30 and 20. This game, we were with them the whole way, down by 3 with about a minute left. We had to start fouling, so we lost by 7. But it was
You had to start fouling, or they started fouling?
No, we had to start fouling them because we were down. So we had to force them to shoot free throws. But anyway, not to get too much. But that's how I got the black eye.
Okay.
But I feel, look, regardless of this, I feel healthier and more alive than ever after last night. So I'm excited to be here.
I just have one more question, Jack, for you, because the listeners want to know. What is your game like? Who do you play like? Because with these numbers, you're sounding like the Joker or something, but who do you play like?
It sounded like Bronny.
No, not Bronny. No, I don't think Jokic is a terrible comparison. I mean, obviously way better, but my best part of my game, I'm a point forward. I can pass the ball. I can handle the ball. So
Come
just
on, we like that.
But so I would say, Jokic is not
Okay,
a
Sarah.
bad comparison, but yeah.
Well,
It's a nice
Wendeezy,
badge of honor on your face.
yes.
Exactly.
Wendell, what is your
Makes me look rugged.
Wendell? What is your ball handle like?
What?
Just
I'm gonna answer a question like that if it comes from Jack and if he properly asks the question.
Wendell, who's your NBA comp?
Okay. So they like to call me the Mamba. They like to compare me to Kobe for a while, but now my game has matured, I'd say. So now I'm more of a facilitator. So you can call me I'm a defender. You can call me like Draymond now.
Whoa, okay.
oh.
And Wendell, I'll give you Wendell,
I'm a
before
dog.
we,
Huh?
I was gonna say before we move on from the ball talk, because I know the commenters definitely gonna be mad. Now, I'll give you a better. I'll give you an Alperen Sengun
Oh.
on the Rockets. Baby Jokic.
Okay.
So
Well,
Jack, my last question.
well, boys, there are 2 ladies here, so
I
let's
said my last question. Ladies, I said, Jack, What's the score if we played 1-on-1?
So what are we playing then?
Ooh.
We're going to 11.
I've never seen you play, but
Oh,
I've never seen you play.
that's
Oh.
the thing.
And we're gonna be in Austin in 2 weeks.
Give me 2-11, 1s and 2s.
1s and 2s.
Give me 11-9.
Okay.
Do we want to put
you ready to
any
put some bread up?
money
Yeah,
on this? Because
Well,
you know Jack doesn't
Flip it out.
gamble, but
I've never seen Wendell play. I can't say for sure. I mean, if he's a Draymond, I might catch an elbow to the other eye. So, but hey, that could be good content for the Purple Pants Pod, a little 1-on-1 in Austin. So,
Just saying. I got it. I got it 11-6 me.
okay. Well,
I gave you 9. I'm trying to be respectful, but
so 6 is disrespectful.
I mean, more disrespectful than 9.
Well,
Anyways, we got a lot to talk about.
we do, and I mean, we might have to make this happen because the baby boys are headed to Austin. We will be in Austin, Texas, April 23rd. From April 23rd, we are heading on home to Philadelphia, April 30th. From April 30th, we are going to be in Washington, D.C., May 7th. From May 7th, Boston, Stand Up, will be in Boston, May 14th. And from there, the grand finale of this season of Survivor 48, we will be in New York City. Tickets are available. If you'd like to come and see the baby boys play 1-on-1, see our ball handle, get some boards, click the link in our Instagram bio, or you can head to briceandwin.com and get your tickets. And the baby boys, all 3 of us, will see you in Austin in 2 weeks. But we've got to get into this episode because a lot has happened, a lot of discourse, and here on this podcast, we speak honesty, we speak integrity, and we speak britches. So, Jack, where we going?
That's a good question. I mean,
Or before you start, Sarah, what is your take on this season so far? We know you took a break from Survivor. Welcome back to Survivor. What's your thoughts on, the newer era? This would be an older of the newer era because you are a OG of the new era. What's your thoughts on Survivor 48?
Honestly, I'm loving it so far. I feel like there's a lot of likable characters for people, I guess. Like, I feel like we're getting a lot of different tastes of people. I'm also really loving the fact that we're seeing some of the old school Survivor elements with like a strength alliance, and then also some of the more like backstabby, the more new era play style as well. So I think it's kind of interesting to see those two collide. I think we saw that becoming a topic of conversation in this episode. So excited to see how that carries through, but definitely have been entertained to say the least so far.
Yes. Jackery?
Yeah, I mean, all I got to say to start up top, I just feel very redeemed right now. Part of me, very, 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 very small part of me was like, say, could go all the way and take this and I would look like a fool. But like usual, my takes aged pretty good. So, and I don't want to talk because I'm not trying to rub salt in the wound, but my takes speak for themselves. So I was very happy about that. The other big highlight to me was this challenge. I mean, I think the editing in this challenge, dare I say, best we've ever seen in a challenge. That doesn't seem crazy to me. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but it's in that conversation.
Jack
is really loving this.
We might be agreeing on something because this challenge right here was something different. And I am inclined to agree with you, Jack, but I just feel like, sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh my God, sorry. Sarah, you're a guest, so I'm trying to like be respectful. But I mean, this challenge right here Whoa! Hold on, wait a second, because
I
David,
think I'm gonna frame that, put it above my bed.
you might
Wait till
have
at night.
to,
Yeah,
because
honestly.
and listen, shout out to Jack and shout out to Wendell, because I was, Kyle this, Kyle that. Kyle was showing up this episode. David showed up this episode. Ooh. Oh, sorry, y'all. Oh, so sorry. Oh, I'm so hold on.
No
I
respect.
am so sorry. Oh, y'all, I'm so sorry, y'all. I have to do this live on the
Are you
podcast.
I know what
changing
you're
your, are
about.
you changing
I
your
have to
britches?
I have to change my britches because I got to change. I gotta change my britches, y'all, because oh my god, I have to change. You see how soaking wet these britches got? Do you see?
Oh my god, stop.
Oh my god, what just happened?
Oh, sorry. Ooh, David.
We just had a live britches changing. Is that?
Oh my god.
There's time for everything.
For the audio listeners, Brice just pulled up a pair of
His
typically considered women's breeches, but I guess Brice's, and wrung them out like a sponge.
and they were dripping.
And they were
Okay,
so.
saturated.
And I
mean-
know somewhere right underneath Brice's camera, he's got like a bucket of like 3 pairs.
Or
of
a
breeches.
puddle. He might have just ruined his keyboard.
Oh my god.
That was an epic challenge. And when we have someone like a David, when we had someone like Shaheen, we had Joe, we had Kyle showing out at this challenge. They broke the record. They broke Ala Gabler's record of this actual challenge. The one thing that I will say, after I think Sade was out first, after
Cedric
kind
was
of
out first.
Cedric, Uncle Sade.
Oh,
Sade
yeah.
was out first. Say even Mitch couldn't hang in there. Mitch was trying to hang in there. When it got down to like the 4 or 5, in my mind, I'm like, Kyle, drop out of this challenge right now, because with Kyle winning the immunity last week, also the way that Kyle's aura, in my opinion, as a viewer, is shifting, I'm like, Kyle, that is too much to do back to back. And so I was actually rooting for Kyle to drop out, because I don't want any more heat on him, because I feel like he is in a fine position. But this challenge was absolutely so much fun to watch.
I think it's interesting too, because it's like we have the strength alliance of the 5 people that they've determined as well. And it's like, then they were all the ones like hanging on for the longest. And it's like, you'd think that maybe one of them would think like, oh, maybe we shouldn't make this look like the 5 of us are going to dominate in every challenge from here on out. Because I feel like that also probably could have incited like some of Chrissy's fears later on in the tribal.
Absolutely. And we'll have to talk about Chrissy, because I feel like, in my opinion, Chrissy was an all-star this episode, because she spoke the truth. But before, I don't want to change the subject.
We'll get to that. But no, this challenge, I mean, and also shout out to Eva was crushing this challenge as well.
Eva was killing it.
This is one of those challenges where, I'm surprised, because truthfully, humbly, I don't think I'd be very good at this challenge, because I'm a pretty big boy, and I don't have that. I'm not as strong as a Joe or a David or a Kyle. So my bag would be pretty heavy, because it's like a quarter of your body weight. But I might be looking like Cedric in this challenge. But it was impressive that all the biggest guys were also able to just like hold the most weight. Not to mention, outside of the challenge, Shaheen doing a killer Survivor music impression. You had Kyle, prompting Jeff to do the apply now. I thought that was also like very meta, but very fun, and the editors had a field day with it.
Absolutely. Jeff had a field day with it. The way Jeff sprung into action when Kyle said that, Jeff was like, you know what? Hey, you sitting at home, apply now. I was like, you could see Jeff was having one of those Jeffrey moments.
Maybe Jeff's britches were getting a little
Ooh.
soggy at the time. Brice, leave it alone.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And we ultimately see Joe and David winning immunity, which was great for the Strength and Integrity Alliance, and showing true dominance when it comes to physical challenges. And so I thought that was great, but I don't want to jump around too much, but I do want to just ask this panel a question. And with the discourse that's on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, the Strength and Alliance and Integrity coalition, right? Like, sounds good on paper, but does it make for an interesting season?
Not if it's executed correctly.
You get people saying like they miss old Survivor, this, that, and the third. And then you get this group of people that are like, you know what? Let's get these strong people together and let's stand by our word, look out for each other and do this thing. And they're effectuating that plan. And you get discourse online like, man, this is boring. And we were watching this. This season was great. Like, I was loving everything about it. These characters, But then this particular episode, it's like, man, and to watch, Say and Said go, it's like, geez, like this Strength and Alliance, this Strength and Integrity Alliance, they're doing it. So, I mean, good gameplay. Yeah, y'all are together. It looks like you guys are on a trajectory to do very well in this game. But geez, like to watch it, I mean, people call Ghost Island boring because me and Dom kind of had that mindset, like we are going to the end together. I mean, obviously with Laurel, even with Donathan, we had our allies and we were like set on doing it together. But people say it makes for a boring season.
Sarah, was Ghost Island boring?
I didn't think Ghost Island was boring. I mean, I agree, Wendell. I feel like it's like you're in a situation where you can't really win because it's like everyone does say, oh, we miss old school Survivor. But people also say, oh, I'm so tired of it being blindside after blindside. And it's like now we have a situation where it is more like old school Survivor. People aren't really happy. So I don't know. I mean, I think it'll be interesting if we can get a mix of it in there. I feel like, especially in New Era, things change so fast. So it'll be interesting to see how long this sticks for. But I mean, they do seem like a solid group. I also wouldn't be surprised to see if they make it all the way to the end altogether. So
I feel confident that I think the likes of Kyle, Camilla, Shaheen will switch things up. I think the people that are only really locked in are Joe, Eva, and David seem to be a tight trio now, but I don't really see them running the table at this point.
What's the difference in the Integrity and Honest Alliance and voting blocks?
Well, you kind of just said it yourself. I mean, one is an alliance that is never going to lie to each other, going to stick tight till the end of the game, and then a voting block is like, all right, our interests are aligned. Let's group up for this vote, and then maybe it changes the next time.
So you know how, like, what's that Venn diagram when it's like circle, 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 and they're all different circles, but then the circles align at some point in time. So voting blocks can align with like the Strength and Integrity Alliance.
yeah.
Right. So like, again, I feel like that's for me is like what feels like old school Survivor, where it's like these voting blocks where it's like it's the majority kind of sort of just bulldozes anyone that's not with them. And I think that was kind of refreshing in the new era where we saw when we had these obvious votes, someone would go, maybe it's not so obvious. Maybe we can move it around, and that makes it exciting. And to quote a not so like famous or notable person on the podcast, but when Deezy, you speak about the pendulum, and I think we see the pendulum of the survivor of making these crazy moves. And I think we're visibly watching the pendulum swing back to bulldozing. But I think what was very eloquently spoken at Tribal was my girl Chrissy being like, this ish is a facade, and like, well, we have to play at some point. And so, yes, I want some integrity and I want some honor and dignity, but until when?
Well, I love that Chrissy's head is in that mindset, but we can all agree that was a terrible thing to say at Tribal, right? Or do you disagree, Brice?
I think she was crashing out. Like, I think it was smart, but I think she also said it in front of the wrong group of people too.
Yeah.
Read the room.
Well, yeah, if you're like, she's like, well, at some point I know I can't trust Joe and I got to vote him out. It's like, and then she's like, well, obviously not tonight. That was like, you just told Joe you don't want to go far with him. And the rest of his alliance, like, I think Chrissy's going to be in hot water soon because of that. Even though her headspace is in the perfect place. And I'm honestly glad. I didn't really expect. Chrissy feels kind of old school, right? So I like that she was thinking that. But I think she even realized as she was going that she talked herself into a corner.
But, and again, I'm just from a viewer standpoint, because I love the strong and solid alliance. Like, I love a David, I love a Joe, I love a Eva, like their story arcs. I think that it's great. But again, my question is, I've never been in a strong alliance. I don't know what that is, Sarah. I don't know if you know either, but my question to you, Wendell, because you were in somewhat of an alliance like this, right? Like, in the back of your mind, you are thinking, this is Survivor. I know my man Dom is solid, but like, you are in the back of your mind being like, keeping your head on a swivel.
Yes, but like I think during the season I compared it to like the Cold War with like mutually assured devastation. Like, if you both have like warheads and you're both, it's in both of your interests to just chill out a little bit. So like, I think Dom had an idol or advantage, whatever, and I did the same. So it's like, yo, we can aim at each other, but it's a wrap for both of us when we start pushing that button. Whereas if we just stick together, we will get far together, and then we can go at each other at the end. But if you go for each other prematurely, like we've seen so often in the new era, you're both going to be out of there because you become that glaring threat.
And I think with the fire making challenge too, it helps that sense of loyalty a little bit, because it's like you and Dom can go at each other, and it can sort of be like, well, we can, one of us might go out and fire. Whereas, back in old Survivor, you might not want to go to the final 2 or the final 3 with your closest ally, and you would have to then turn on them at like the final 4 or the final 3 vote out. But now it's like, if you have a tight duo, you go to fire making, whoever wins fire making or whatever is going to win the game. And that's not a bad situation to be in as a duo, I would say.
It's an interesting situation to see like an alliance of such strong people. Because I feel like when you think of like strong alliances in Survivor history, it's never a group of like 5 or 6 of the toughest like competitors. I feel like it's always a mixture. So it's like, at some point you'd think that they want to think about like, oh, do I actually want to go up against all these people in every single immunity challenge? Like, wouldn't you rather be in a position to where you win, or maybe sticking all together as a group lessens your individual threat level? I don't know. It's a interesting dynamic, but I honestly can't remember a time that I've seen it like this in the show Survivor.
And who is in the strong integrity alliance? Like Eva, Joe, and David, who?
And then like Kyle and Shaheen are sort of on the sides of it. Yeah. But I feel like those two will, when the time is right, make their move. Like, those two are not integrity like guys in the sense of they're willing to play the game a little bit more. They're not just going to be blindly loyal. Although we've seen Kyle and Shaheen those two are not necessarily aligned completely. So I don't know, but it also like it doesn't. I don't mind it from like David, Joe, and Eva's standpoint, because like we've seen, you talked about the pendulum in recent history, like those kind of targets will go out a little bit earlier. So you kind of have to protect each other for a little bit. It's just kind of like when it boils down to it, are they willing to make the move? Because if they do this and then one of them wins, it's like, sure, it's kind of boring, but maybe it was a good strategy.
Yeah, bulldoze to the end.
Not fun to watch, but like if you get you to the end in a position to win, then it's fine gameplay.
Yeah.
If everyone's on board with it. I wanted to ask back to the. Sorry, did you have something on this, Brice?
So, in that line of thinking, though, because I feel like if that is the strong and integrity alliance, right? I feel like Kyle, if we're looking at it from a viewer, right? Who is in the best position in that situation, right? And I'm like thinking about their connections. And so obviously we know it's Joe and Eva. I don't really know any other stronger bond that those two have. Then we have David. And he's got some branches out there. He's got different places. Then we have Shaheen. He's got some branches. And then we've got Kyle, who I think like he's a tree. And so it's interesting when we think of like the core of the strong integrity and power alliance. It's crazy because it's looking like Kyle might be in the best position of that.
Agree.
Yeah, I would agree.
And even David has like some. I mean,
he got a lot.
Being locked in with Joe and Eva, but then also being in good with all of his Siva people, like he's probably not going to have a lot of eyes on him moving forward. And Shaheen, I didn't disagree with Shaheen's analysis early in the episode of like it seems like things would kind of have to flow through him, but because he's not like overwhelmingly tight with anybody, I wonder if people start to realize that sort of like they did later this episode, and maybe that could put a target on his back. But I do think Shaheen has the strategic skills and the social skills and being in this alliance where he'll know when the time is right to branch out. It's just whether if his head pokes up too far before that, I think.
That's what makes me nervous about Shaheen, because again, when we think about a player like a Thomas, right? Thomas was deceptive and amazing. I also feel like Shaheen is similar to a Thomas, right? And then when you're left in this bunch of like the shifty one, there will be a time that like the alliance will look at you and like, can we actually trust a Shaheen? I think Shaheen has made the right moves thus far because Thomas got blown up, so he was like, oh, I need to pull back. But it does make me worry for Shaheen because I feel like Shaheen has it in him to make a move.
I would agree. I feel like the whole thing with him going through Kyle's bag, like unfortunately, I feel like that's made it so that Kyle and Camilla are never going to fully trust him. So it puts him in a little bit of a dangerous spot, I think.
And even if they do trust him, they always have a reason why they can vote him out, or they have the perfect reason. Like, oh, I didn't trust you because of blah, 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 blah. Even if it's like, you know what? He went through my bag because we're playing Survivor and, you know, the tides can change. But now it's just like he gave them a reason.
Yeah. It's also interesting because it's like, I feel like a lot of people in the game right now have like, I feel like there's a lot of pairs and it's not clear who Shaheen's like number one is. And I feel like he's kind of sitting in the middle of a lot of people, which is the worst position to be in. But sometimes I feel like you do need that person to go to bat for you when you're in a game with this many people left.
Yeah. And you also guys mentioned like, that tribe of Shaheen, Joe, Kyle, Camilla. I mean, Joe is now tied into that Kyle Camilla duo. There's a lot of interwoven bonds in this big group, which is why I think I kind of predict that the next few episodes might also be a little bit boring per se, in the sense that I think if you look at the landscape, I think everyone in that group feels like they don't mind getting farther with this squad. And so that leaves like a Mitch and a Chrissy, I think, very on the outside. I kind of feel like Mitch and Chrissy might go the next two. Mary's under the radar enough and in a good social spot where then people might use Mary to start going after each other. And then that gets us to like our final 8 with this group. But I find it hard to imagine a world where like Mitch and Chrissy are able to like really turn these people against each other.
But I don't think that would be that hard. We have a Mary.
So that's 3.
We have a Chrissy. We have a Kyle. We have a Camilla. Like, I feel like Camilla and Kyle yes, Kyle is locked in, but I also feel like if Kyle were to swing the pendulum, the only person that would be able to do that is Camilla. So there is a world where like, and we have Star, and like, the way that we've been seeing Star these last couple of episodes, again, I'll go back to you, Jack, when we gave Star the Britchie Award, when you were like, how could you not be on the island and not want to hang out with a Star? And we see how funny she is, how charismatic. Like, I feel like there could be a coalition
I think if the coalition forms, it's going to stem from Kyle and Camilla finding the right time to gather some people and turn things around. I would theorize that I don't think that needs to be right away. Like, I think they can get rid of like a Chrissy and I guess like a Mitch, and then scoop up Star and Camilla, Kyle, Mary, maybe Shaheen, and then you flip it on like David, Joe, and Eva. Although, I mean, we've seen Star also seems pretty close to Eva and Joe, and hasn't been shown too much to rock the boat in that sense. But I think that's why I still maintain I think Kyle and Camilla will find the right time to take control of this game, and I think one of them will win. But honestly, I don't think the right time to do that would be for a couple votes. Like, knock out a couple easy ones, which is good strategy, but might be a little bit slow the next couple weeks.
My fear is that some of the people that aren't in the Power Alliance are just going to keep on voting with the easy votes until they get picked off.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it ain't me. Cool. It ain't me. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough movers.
Well, what should they do?
Get together, like you said.
What is there? They always say to get rid of a monster, you got to suck the head of a snake.
That's not the same.
It's real, guys.
Ma'am?
I'm like, what's the saying?
That's a chop off. Suck it.
That's why I haven't been able to get rid of these snakes.
Who's the head of the snake, Brice? Who are we sucking?
Well, don't egg him on.
Sarah, that's what my question. Hold on. I gotta go on mute.
You knew what you were doing. Come on now.
I mean,
that wasn't even a relevant segue. You just want to talk about sucking snakes.
Brice be trying to get rid of monsters every day, huh?
Every day. No. Oh, I don't be meaning to crack myself up like that. No, but in order to get rid of this law and order snake,
oh my God,
whose head do we need to suck? Is my question to get rid of the snake.
You mean cut the head off of?
Yes, yeah. I mean, cut, suck.
Like to break up this unit?
If there is one person to get rid of.
Yeah, probably Joe.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, Joe's cool with, like, everybody loves Joe. He's good. He's obviously tight with Eva, but he's tight with David. Like, people respect him. He's sort of, I think if you get rid of Joe, like, I think it's hard that, like, to see that David and Eva would really be able to, like reinvigorate their games and, like, keep control.
I think it could be Eva. Again, I feel like yes, Eva has an amazing story, right? But like, let's be real. Eva's out here playing and she's killing it. And she has this relationship with David. She has this relationship with Joe. We see her bridging these gaps with Star. We see her at the last tribal council saying, like, really? Because I was talking to everybody. Like, I feel like because of the amazingness that we saw of Eva in that episode, I feel like people are almost being like Eva and not looking at her like a player. And I think that, like, Eva really is a big dog out there, because think about it. And I don't want Eva to go. I'm just saying, when we're talking about the head of the monster, if Eva were to go, then Joe and David, like it really does
frees them.
change.
It frees them a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, no, I think that's valid. I was thinking Joe seems a little bit more connected across the board with
I
like
think it's Eva.
Kyle and Camilla too. Like Eva, we haven't seen a ton of Eva relationships outside of her original Loggy, but I don't think that's a bad, because obviously the people she's close with, she's like locked in. So I don't think that's a bad take either. I mean, Joe and Eva are a really strong duo either way.
I agree. I kind of agree with Brice. At first, I thought it was Joe just because of how connected Joe is with both of them. Very connected, right? But when you think about Eva, if you get rid of her, that kind of frees Joe. Now it's like right now we're looking at a Joe that it looks like this man will sacrifice his game for in the furtherance of her game. But if she's now gone, now it's like, you know what? Joe could just do his thing. He doesn't have to, protect this young woman who he's promised that he will protect anymore. He could backstab somebody, he could play Survivor.
And I do want to be clear, me saying Eva is a huge compliment to her in the sense that I feel like I don't hear enough people talking about her game. And yeah, like she said, she might not be able to tell when people are lying to her. Okay, but she's able to make connections. She's able to be cool. We see people like her. We see, and again, I know how the edit works. They don't show you everything. But when Eva was at that tribal council last week and she was saying, well, really? Because I'm talking to everybody. And I could see her in Chrissy. I could see her in Camilla. It's like, again, I love Eva. And I'm like, wow, she actually might be the mastermind. And tell me this, Eva could tell Joe a name. And I feel like Joe would maybe push back. But if Eva would be like, get Wendell out now, Joe gonna get Wendell out.
I don't know if I'd call her the mastermind,
Not
so like a linchpin, more so like a keystone, more so like a person that is like,
or a glue, like a Sam, the glue.
Yes, a glue.
I do feel like as long as Joe and Eva are in the game together, like they will be voting together, and two votes in one direction is always really dangerous. I also feel like with Eva too, it's like we saw the relationship with Star like completely turn around, and someone who's like not only able to build relationships, but like repair relationships is like very dangerous out there.
And then it even has me thinking, where does David fall into this, right? Like, and when we're saying these pairs, like where in his mind, I wonder, like outside of chocolate milk, because because I heard David like a little chocolate milk, and I said, I mean, have you ever had a caramel latte, David? Okay, with the foam milk. I'm just saying, my nickname in high school was Cow.
Cow.
Because I can produce milk.
Oh my God, you're unhinged today.
Sorry.
This is my first time here.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I forgot.
Turn me up.
I feel like, to actually answer your question, I think David is good with his people, but I don't think he's like essential for anybody, and he's obviously a huge target. So I can see him, and it looks in the teaser for next week, it looks like David might start stepping a little bit here and there, and it looks like maybe he might step out of line. So I'd be a little nervous for David, because he's obviously just a massive target. I mean, even in the challenges, you see him like he's a big threat. So and he doesn't have like a ride or die. So I worry that that's gonna make him a big option, in the next few votes. Maybe not like next vote, but a little bit down the line.
Another segue, and I say, although this was her time, this episode, I wasn't mad at how she was pivoting, right? Like, I feel like Say you can say what you want about Say and how she's moved in the past, and obviously she's made her bed and she is ultimately laying in it. However, as a last ditch effort, I was not mad at Say having the conversations with the people that she was like. I felt like when your back is against the wall, she was doing what she needed to do.
Yes, but I say yes, but because when it's the 9th hour and you're doing this politicking, yes, scramble, do what you got to do. But also, when you're on an island, have conversations with everybody every day. Like, don't, if you ask me, what the advice that I always give people is like, yo, true. Let me,
No, you're right. You're right, though. Keep
going.
going.
Say, I love you. But I just think that on the island, you gotta be having these conversations with everybody every day.
Yeah.
I apologize, Say.
Yeah. Stay off Twitter, Wendell.
Yeah, sorry. It's a wrap for me.
No, totally. No, I didn't think Say did anything particularly bad this episode, but it was just sort of a amalgamation of some of the past episodes.
But riddle me this. Again, I don't know a lot about Survivor. However, if I'm out there on Survivor and I see that this name that is constantly being thrown around is a Say, and everyone's like, oh, we can't deal with her. And that was the big talk, was that they can't have her on the jury. That was something that was interesting that I don't think in the new era we have seen this much conversation about not just sending someone home, but not putting them on the jury. That was interesting. But we get to see all this talk about why they don't want Say on a jury. Is it wrong that I was thinking if I'm out there and that's what they are saying about a Say, that's somebody I like to bring to the end, because tell me that you won't vote for that person. I feel like that's where in the new era, I would put my thinking cap on and be like, how is it a way that I can maneuver to get Say past this vote? Because go ahead.
I see where your head's at, but I think, like, respectfully, it seems like, according to the players, attaching yourself and working with Say might be too difficult of a thing for then it to be worth trying to drag her to the end. Not drag, but like bring her to the end against the will of the other player.
I agree. However, like I said, this episode, I felt like Say was in rare form. The Say that I feel like from this episode, from episode 2, is a different Say. This was a Say that my back's against the wall, and it's almost like a hurt animal, right? Like, you know, in the sense of like you know, like the dog's paw is hurt, and like it's normally a vicious but if the dog's paw is hurt, it's not barking like anymore. It's like
but Say isn't. I agree, and I liked how she was playing this episode, but she's not going to be necessarily like that the remaining 13 days.
And I want her to be classic Say, because again, it's still a target.
Ally, I don't think
you don't need to broadcast that you're her ally. You could make some
moves.
If
you're the one trying to make moves now to try to set up bringing her to the end, I think inevitably you're going to be seen as, unless you just do it so masterfully. But when so many people want her out, if you start being like, no, let's keep Say around, like I think that's a dangerous game to play.
I do think like you could have made an argument with a group to like keep her in though. And I guess like I probably have a very hot take on Say, but I think she's like one of the most entertaining players of the new era of Survivor. Like
entertaining.
I think also like she survived 5 tribal councils. She received votes every single time. And I think when you play Survivor, I feel like there's the methodology of like, how do I make it to the next day versus how do I make it all the way? And I think sometimes people get caught up and like don't think about the how do I make it to the next day thing, which is like Bianca's a perfect example of that, where I think she was thinking too far ahead. And Say really like nailed the how can I make it to the next day part without really like the foresight. So I don't know. I mean, I think also her surviving so many tribal councils turned her into a threat in a way as well. I don't even know if it was necessarily like her gameplay at that point, but I don't know. I think if you could have convinced a group, like Brice, I definitely see your point, but I also feel like people thought she was unpredictable. So not necessarily the safest person to bring through as well.
Right.
Yeah. But Brice, also to your point of if I think that why people didn't want Say on the jury is a lot of people felt like, oh, Say doesn't really like me. She's not going to vote for me. But obviously, if Say feels that way about everybody that's left, then she's got to vote for somebody. But it's still like, okay, if I have an okay relationship with Say, it's actually not bad if she makes the jury. But that's kind of the problem is if so many people feel like, oh, Say wouldn't even vote for me, or she's too much of a wild card to be able to like kind of know where her vote would go on the jury. And it's like, let's just also, because I'd be worried, like, if I was the type of person that Say doesn't like, which I am.
Go ahead and say this, because I'm.
And
so
I would
excited.
be,
We're
and
about
I
to
would
go
be
here,
like,
Jack.
then I would especially be like, if I was like, oh, Say would be like an early jury member. The early jury members have a lot of like swing when more people come in terms of influencing how they look at the game. And if Say is a Jack hater, then I would be like, I don't want Say anywhere near the jury, because not only would she probably not vote for me, she would also, probably work on getting other people to not vote for me. And I feel like a lot of other players in the game, based on what we've heard about their thoughts on Say and Say's thoughts on them, probably felt very similarly.
Well, that is interesting that you say that, Jackery, because I too thought that, but I also thought the group of people that had left, and again, I was the third boot out, so I don't know how this all works, but the people that are left on the island will be the jury, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't this group of people that are on the island, aren't they a part of the dig deep, the integrity, honest, trust, Galileo, Joe, me? Like, aren't they? Isn't that group? And so what my question is if that is why you are thinking not to put Say on the jury, then do we have a snake in the Galileo trust and integrity group? Because if this is the same group that you are with and they are the majority, why would you be worried about a Say swaying you? That was my question.
Wait. No. Wait. That doesn't.
Yes, it tracks.
No,
I think it makes sense.
Medium.
That doesn't track at all. I'm sorry. No. That doesn't track at
medium.
all. If you're a like, I'm trying to think of, like, if you're a Joe who was a part of voting Say out, and you don't have a particularly strong relationship with Say, but you got a good relationship with your strong person alliance, that Say probably wouldn't love a lot of strong men ganging up to work together. Wouldn't you be worried that, say, Mary and Star and Chrissy and Mitch go to the jury and Say's like, Joe's the leader of the strong guys alliance, we should never vote for him? I think that's a realistic concern.
I mean, I inherently, I think that is the problem of the strong and honest game when you're playing it with 4 people, because that's not what the jury is. So I think that inherently that's the problem with the strong integrity alliance.
But sure,
right.
But if you're looking at their perspective, then having a Say on the jury, she's probably not going to support what they're doing.
But I also feel
there's a couple things. It's like, first of all, if it's only strong people at the end, she's got to pick.
Well, that's true.
That's right.
Secondly, if it's not, how many people are in this strong alliance? 5, 6, what? 5. So half of them will be on the jury anyway.
Right.
So either way, it's like either they will lobby for this strong person at the end, maybe or maybe not, or she only has them to pick from.
Yeah, but I don't. Well, this also goes back to what Brice was saying. Is like, Say does have to pick somebody, so that you should be a little bit less worried about her than maybe they were. But at the same time, if you feel like Say is someone who's not going to support you at the end of the game, which I would reckon that most of the remaining players feel that way, that Say is not going to want to vote for them at the end. Maybe there is a situation where she has to, but like, just them having that feeling, I think it's very valid for them to be like, I'd rather just not want her on the jury. I don't want her to like taint any of the jury members' perspectives. Well,
then wouldn't that make you want to then maybe change your outlook on how you treat her for the remainder, or how you bring her in, or how you send her off?
If she's not going on the jury.
Well, I mean, okay, right. Yeah. But again, I'm just, What's your thoughts there?
Also, like, someone like Say on the jury. So say you have this strong integrity alliance and one of them votes out another person. Wouldn't you think that if you have an alliance based on integrity and you get backstabbed, that person is not going to vote for you at the end if you had this front of being loyal and whatnot? Like, to me, that seems like a higher risk than someone like Say, who is in a position where she has to vote for someone who she didn't really have the loyalties to. So wouldn't she be able to be more objective as opposed to feeling bitter?
But they also haven't. Okay, like I think we could all. Most people would agree. Say is probably going to be a little bring her subjectiveness into a jury.
See, I don't agree. As long as Cedric ain't at the end, I think Say can be ejected.
But your theory, like the theory that, I mean, I think that's a very relevant thing. But a lot of the strong alliance hasn't shown any desire to backstab each other. So if I'm truly loyal to my crew, then it's not on my mind of like when I backstab them, they're not going to vote for me because I'm not thinking about backstabbing them. It seems like to them, their ideal world is to get down to like the 5 and then play it out and then probably wouldn't be bitter. Maybe they would. I mean, I don't know.
I also feel like that really, like, I feel like the only two people that really feel like that are Eva and Joe. I feel like if David is a part of this alliance, I don't know. I don't think if David is a part of this alliance and he makes it, because, David is solid.
But you're telling me if Joe and Eva stabbed David in the back next,
I think he would be pissed.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he's the same as Joe and Eva in that sense.
No, but what I am saying is, sorry, I started thinking about David and I started thinking about 1, 2, 3, 4 nipples, and I was just all over the place. What I am saying is, I think the only people in the strong alliance, if they were backstabbed, that would still vote are Joe and Eva. But they would still vote for each other. What I'm saying is, outside of that, right? I think that if it's Joe, Eva, and David and Shaheen, and then at the end, Shaheen or David is backstabbed, I don't know how likely they would be to vote strong and integrity is what I'm saying.
But I still think they would vote for who they believe played the best game. I don't know if they would be bitter. Like, I don't think Shaheen would get backstabbed and then be like, I'm going to throw my vote on someone who I don't think is the most deserving winner. I don't feel like it's every player in this game seems to have felt like they did not want Say on the jury for a reason. And so all I'm saying is like, these are potentially the reasons that they wouldn't want her on the jury. I don't feel like that's a crazy take. Like, if you don't feel like Say is someone who's going to want to vote for you at the end, even if you find yourself in a situation where maybe she has to, then it makes sense to not want her on the jury. I think that's very reasonable.
Here's another question. We can't do a podcast, Sarah, without bringing up James Jones. And James Jones is always of the theory that you're busy managing jury votes instead of managing getting yourself to the end. And like what Sarah was saying, like the foresight, is it like you're looking at the forest before the tree? Like, you looking at the deep before the throat. Like, you're looking at what needs to.
I just nodded, like, yeah, to that.
Something ain't right with you, Brice.
This man is.
Oh my God.
Did you wet the whistle today?
No, I'm not. But is that not the same foresight that Sarah was talking about getting to the end, though?
Oh, I think that's a valid conversation where if I felt like that keeping Say was a better move for these people and them getting her out just because they don't want her on the jury, I think that would be bad. But I think it's totally fine that they, like, it's hard to weigh between Say and between Mitch, but I absolutely see the reasons to keep Mitch in the game at this point for that group. Like, yeah. So in that sense, now if it was like, do we make a massive shot on a huge threat who has like completely unattached from all of their allies in this split tribe, or do we just take out Say because we don't want her on the jury? Well, it's like, then you should be taking the shot that you need to take. But if it's just like, do we vote out Say or do we vote out Mitch? Like Mitch isn't Mitch is a threat in general, but I don't think he's that much of a threat in all the circumstances. He's been out of the vote recently. So
Mitch is definitely a threat, though, just because he isn't necessarily in the strong and integrity alliance, but he is somebody out there that, like, that is strong and that can oppose it.
Well,
And
people have
could
also
win
sort of
immunity.
caught on to him being a threat, and once people catch on to you being a threat, it kind of makes you less of a threat. And he's been out of the loop the last couple of votes. So I think Mitch is someone that, like a Joe, could actually reel in. And so that's why I think it makes sense for them to keep him around over Say. Say is very unpredictable. You don't know who she wants to work with.
I think,
Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
sorry. I think also like part of it is I feel like unfortunately for Say, it just felt like an obvious vote for everyone. And I think in Survivor, there's 2 votes that people, or 3, I guess. No one wants to be the first out, and no one wants to be the person booted before the jury. So I think that probably had people a little bit scared and gave Say a little bit less wiggle room in the way that people would probably not want to make a big move at this point in the game. No one wants to mess up and miss jury by one person. So was it a cop-out to say, oh, we don't want Say on the jury? I think a little bit, yeah.
It's true.
But and it's real. And again, I'm not fighting you, Jack. I think they did make the wrong, like they did make the right decision, and like keeping them strong. But I always like to push back a little bit.
No, totally. I also think Mitch using his block vote or pledging to use it made a lot of sense because now it's an opportunity to take out Say without any risk. And if you're like a Joe and an Eva and you know Mitch is going to use the block vote, well, now you don't have to worry about like what Star is going to do. Or not Star, whoever else is in the, or it was Star in their group.
It was Chrissy
and Star, right? Yeah. Now you don't have to worry as much about what they're gonna do because if the vote is blocked, it's at worst it's gonna be 3-2. So like Sarah said, yeah, it's a safe move. There's not even the risk of the shot in the dark, and you kind of just take out someone who's because also or to your earlier point, Brice, like if Say gets through this vote and she is on the jury. Now people might not be worried about that. Now they might start looking at her as someone that you can take the final 3 and beat. And for someone like a Joe and an Eva, I think that's actually a dangerous element to have in the game because it doesn't seem like they want her there, but other people might.
Can we pivot another topic? 2 things I want to talk about. I do want to talk about Godfather Said, but before Godfather Said, in our winner predictions, right? Can we talk about Mother Mary? Because Mother Mary, in my opinion, from just a viewer, she's in one hell of a position. And I mean that by being really good. One, she is the only member of her tribe left now, and which can put you at an advantageous position, but also can put you at a position to like win. Also, the fact that she was just able to shed that green like that and assimilate in with these other people, I think there is something to Mother Mary. And I'm just looking at, I mean, I've always been a Mother Mary's missionary, but I just think for her to like, we saw the kumbaya that she made with Say and Said, but then really was like, get these out of here, get these. I'm done. And like the fact that she's just working with people. It's not like you don't eat. It's just the way that she's in with them. It's almost like she's with her original tribe. And I think that is scary in a good way. Cause it's like, I love to see a Mary take a shot. Oh, from Philadelphia. Okay. We got the Eagles already. We could use another chip. We haven't had a Philly winner ever. So it's like really great if Mary could do it.
I wish we had a confessional from her because I agree with everything you're saying, but I also don't really like who is she with, you know? And it's sort of difficult that there's this emphasis on like the big integrity, loyalty, like Beast alliance. I don't want to say the strong alliance because Mary obviously highly athletic, but like I think she positioned herself great. I'm just worried she's not going to have a ton of options. Like I just don't know who. I think she's going to be able to stay under the radar and then get through some votes and then maybe have an opportunity to navigate once things kind of turn on each other. And that's what I'm hoping happens for Mary. But right now, I think her best move is to continue laying low, and hopefully an opportunity presents itself.
But we know Mary doesn't lay low though, right? Like we know, like if Mary lay low,
she's low lately, and it's just been really good.
But she cooking. But she's like, it's not like Mary's not going to lay down.
I'm not. Oh, there's a difference between laying low and laying down. Laying low, she's staying under the radar, building connections, and like letting the things occur around her and finding her position and staying off I'm not laying down is completely different.
Okay, but
She's
I don't
going
even like
low.
laying low. I want to say Mary crawling.
She's like a snake right now, right? And she's waiting for her opportunity. She's slithering through the grass, waiting for her opportunity to strike. And hopefully nobody wants to suck the head off the snake.
I think Mary's the kind of person that will lay low and slither until she sees this fallout that from the big alliance,
And
or if she doesn't see that will get with the I guess the loose ends kind of and try to make a move.
Yeah.
If she sees it going in a particular direction.
Agree. Before we get into the Cedric Shaheen sort of side of things, because we were talking a little bit about jury management, and I have a question related to the challenge that I wanted to throw out to you guys. And this isn't me saying that I think this is right or wrong. It's just more of an idea I want to throw out that no one seems to have considered. Of in this challenge, right? We all know how it works. Like the final person, their tribe wins reward, but the person they vote out also goes to the jury. The other group, they don't win reward, but they don't have to deal with the jury. Is there a world where, say you are like Joe versus David, is there a world where you want to intentionally lose at that point because sure you're not going to get reward, but now the person you vote off might not be on the jury because I'm thinking, the person you vote off, they might be mad at you, and if they're the first member of the jury, they could have a lot of influence on more people coming in, and if they're mad at you because you blindside them or whatever, it might just be better to just the person you vote out has no part of it. And if you lose, say Joe intentionally loses to David one-on-one, now David's also going to look like a little bit stronger than Joe, and maybe that's good for keeping your threat level balanced because you're safe either way, right? So basically, is there a purpose in losing intentionally, giving up the reward, but making sure that the person you vote out is not on the jury?
I hear what you're saying. I just think there are too many factors at play.
Yeah, and the person that they wanted not on the jury is not on the jury.
It's like, first and foremost, I want to eat, and I want whoa, Brice, relax.
Where the snake at?
No, you're on Survivor starving. Like I'm gonna do everything I can, and you got the two biggest dudes out there. They want to. Whoa.
Again,
one-handed is wild. Okay,
they're having like a strength competition right now. Like they want to prove it to everyone. So yeah, Jack, I think there might be a world where it's like, I definitely want to get someone out. But first and foremost, you want to eat and you want to win your immunity.
Yeah, no, I think that's reasonable. And also, I guess even if you don't necessarily know who's going to be on the jury or not be on the jury. So you could lose a close ally and then they're not on the jury, like technically. So.
Yeah, I feel like unless it was a super obvious vote, like who in your group is going to go home and then everyone doesn't want that person on the jury for a specific reason, then that would make sense. But the groups are also assigned like right before the challenge. So I feel like that's it feels like a big risk.
I mean, it did sort of unintentionally work out that way with Joe and Eva didn't want Say on the jury and now she's not. But not to say that they did that intentionally or not, but
no one was saying.
I think I tend to agree. It's like there's a lot to manage. Like you don't necessarily, especially when you're starving, you're not going to be like, oh, let me make sure Say's not on the jury. Like it's a little bit too complicated.
It's so early. It's like, let me make sure I'm getting food in my belly.
Yeah.
Also, who doesn't want to win like a challenge for a group of people so everyone can eat as well? I feel like that makes you look like a hero.
Yeah.
But it makes you look like a hero, but it does, I feel like, illuminate your threat level even more because then that's an even more reason that they like, damn, Sarah fed us. She we would want to vote for her. So again, trying to see the woods before the forest, like, yeah, you're right. But also at the same time, that's something that you can then say on your resume.
Yeah, I mean, David definitely looks more like a challenge beast than Joe right now just because he won that face-off. I mean, obviously they're both big physical threats, but I feel like
everyone knew he was a threat whether he won that or not. Like, you know what I mean?
But also in Survivor, it's like all the challenges will not look like this. And this might be the one challenge that caters to these big, strong people. But wait until y'all are hanging on a pole or until y'all are doing some balance.
So y'all talk about big, strong people. Sorry.
How? What? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
You said hanging on a pole?
No.
Shirtless?
Oh,
How many times did you watch the challenge, Brice?
Enough.
It's on loop. It's on repeat.
we only watched it once because he paused it on that one frame and hasn't changed it since.
I had to change the britches. But okay, Sade. I want to talk about Cedric. I didn't see this coming. I thought Godfather Said had a really good shot. But I just love to know your thoughts. Was say the downfall of Uncle Sade? Should he have gone with his original initial takeout with Justin? Would that be different? I'm curious. Like, and again, maybe and if maybe y'all can help me. What were the determining factors? Like, what were some of the people saying as to why they wanted, like, why Sade should go?
It just seemed like Cedric was, especially in this group, very unconnected. I feel like
Mary was there,
but they weren't working together. Like, had they ever worked together?
Yes.
Mary wasn't going to stick her neck out. I mean, in a group of like Kyle, David, and Camilla, who we kind of know are going to stick together, Cedric just doesn't have a ton of options. I think that group likes Mary, and so then it boils down to Shaheen and Cedric. And even though Shaheen's maybe more of a target, I think he's got more inroads. Like Cedric right now, and again, I think, not to toot my own horn, I think some of my takes on Cedric's decisions age kind of well here, because I think if Cedric had a Justin in the game or a Bianca in the game, he could have had those connections and maybe use those to build more connections. But instead, by keeping Say around, he's sort of attached to this tribe pariah, and people, he just doesn't have a lot. And in that last vote where he like tried to connect, or last pre-merge vote, when he maybe connected a little bit with like Chrissy and Mitch, or made that move with Chrissy, it's like going into a merge, I don't think respectfully, I don't think Chrissy's going to be like the number one facilitator for your game. So yeah, I think Brice, kind of like what you said, and Cedric at this point just, I mean, partly through no fault of his own because of just how many tribals he had to go to and how many allies he sort of had to vote out. Cedric just doesn't have the connections right now that the other people do. And again, like this is just sort of a vote where people want to keep it pretty simple, especially this like big dominant alliance wants to keep it simple. So he's just like the least connected one, I would say.
I think Cedric would have survived if it wasn't a split tribal. I think someone would have found a way to use his vote. I think it was just unfortunate that he was like so on the outs with this group of 6 that he was in. Because even I was like, oh, this vote makes sense, but I don't know why it makes sense when I'm watching it. Like, I don't know.
Sometimes with the split tribal, it's like you might just be in the wrong number. Like I feel like that almost happened to Shaheen. Like I think Shaheen's not in that bad of a spot, and it was almost just like, oh, well, Shaheen's a target and his people aren't here. Let's get him out. Like that can happen. Cedric was like, Cedric's sort of a target, and he has like doesn't really have any people. I mean, I guess maybe he had like Star on the other side somewhat. They bonded last week, but
I think I ultimately think it was his connection with Say. I also think that we know that Say and Mary allegedly to Say they made up, but we know that Mary wanted no parts, and I think that Cedric had demonstrated enough to Mary that like he's gonna rock with a Say, and I think that Mary might have been the ultimate nail in his coffin, because I feel like if Mary would have potentially stuck her neck out, something could have would have happened. I don't know, but it sucks that Uncle Sade is gone, because I think that he was great. I think that we haven't seen in the new era a player like an Uncle Sade. I think that he really kind of he, in my opinion, utilized, and I say this with love, his social game.
Why would that not be with love?
Because the physical game is looking like Jack's eye, but we love Uncle Sade, and I'm happy that he at least was able to make the merge,
Yeah.
and he's on not the merge, but he was able to make the jury. And let's also just call a thing a thing. In my humble opinion, it's not a merge if I don't make the jury. So don't give me 3 episodes of merge and then it's 3 people go home and only 1 person makes the jury. I said what I said, period.
You a little hype over there, Brice.
Yeah, because that ish pissed me off. Like, first of all, I only was 3rd out. I wasn't playing to win. I wasn't playing to win. All I wanted to do, Sarah, was to make the merge. That's all I wanted to do was make the merge. That's like, I was like, if I can get to that pinnacle, I'm good. And in those days, if you made the merge, you made the jury. I don't like this new twist. Listen, if we go
Not
back
always, though. Just there's been seasons in the past where you make the merge and you don't make the jury. But I don't not that I disagree with you. I kind of agree, but sometimes there
if you haven't played Survivor, I'm gonna need you to be quiet on this one real quick. Okay, it's like
but like there's been seasons where they merge it because like sometimes they merge at 10 and it's a final 2 or whatever. And so
when's the last time we had a final 2?
Like season.
No,
Thank you.
Heroes,
I think it was 28. Was it Kage on?
The season 35 they merged, and then the first merge boot wasn't on the jury.
Yeah.
Oh,
a few.
Wait, I'm sorry. Sarah said a very interesting thing. Say that again. Season 35. There was the first what?
The first merge boot wasn't
Thank
on the
you.
jury.
No, because there's a discrepancy on this podcast, Sarah, that it's the merge boot. No, baby, it's the first merge boot.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you, Sara Wilson.
Well, everything's I mean, I guess maybe it's a little redundant, but the first merge boot. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yes, especially for especially for Winners at War. But here's my thing.
And Brice, I think Kage was the last final 2. Unrelated to this conversation.
I didn't see that season. But I'm just saying, me as a fan, they got that Survivor 50 vote. They asking the wrong questions. This should be a question that we, the fans, should vote for.
Yeah. I also
about the jury?
About 50. When we merge, should that jury start then? Yes.
You know, I'll push back on that a little bit just because, like, if Charity made the jury, now I'm all for the players making the jury and more players making the jury. Like you did, like I think Sade deserves to be on the jury. But like a Charity making the jury, it's like if I wasn't on Charity's starting tribe, I knew Charity for what 12 hours. So I know, but it doesn't feel as like for someone to immediately if they haven't had time to get to know each other, Charity's going to go to the jury not really knowing much about a lot of the players left in the game, and I think that makes her an uninformed juror.
Well, no, that doesn't. That's the point of the jury. You sit at tribal council. You learn what happens. Also, I'm also not saying we don't need to merge. Like they could have gone to 2 more tribals. That's what I'm saying. All I'm saying is do more tribe slots.
I mean, this has been better than it was earlier in the new era because it would be like the weird mergatory where half the tribe's safe, and then they would split up into 2 groups, and then the first vote that was actually like a proper merge vote would be like the final 10, and then they do like the final 9 when like 3 people didn't have votes. So I'm just glad we had like a regular like merge vote with Charity at least, but
I'm just saying
I could do without. I mean, I could do without the split tribals too. I'll be honest, but.
I feel like as someone who didn't make the jury, I think doing a split tribal where the first group that goes, that person doesn't make the jury is just cruel. Like, I don't agree with it. I think it's messed up, honestly. It's like, why should that person not make it and the person who gets voted out an hour later make it?
True. And obviously them being voted out, like that was entirely dependent on like Joe versus David. It had nothing to do with like Say or Cedric doing anything.
Yeah, and that's like the dependent on the rock draw at that point. Like, I think people go through so much to be on Survivor, and being on the jury is such a key part. And maybe that's where I like just need to be a little bit more heartless, but I think it's like really
the only thing is with a final 3 you can't start the jury at 12 because it would be a 9-person jury. It theoretically could be 3-3-3 vote, and then there's no tiebreaker. I know that's the reason they don't do it is because it's like if like it could happen.
Yeah.
That's the reason they don't do it. But you could start it at like 13 when Charity went home and she could be the start of the jury. But it's the same reason like when they used to merge at like 12 and it's a final 2. That's the jury wouldn't start till 11 because if it's 12 and a final 2, it could be like a 5-5 jury vote, and then they have to have a tiebreaker.
Just my thoughts. I don't know much.
But that's obviously unrelated, like generally unrelated to wanting the jury to like start sooner or whatever. Like that's super valid.
Yeah. Or again, I'm not mad till you dwindle the tribes down, and then you switch to 2 tribes. Then when you that's what I like. I miss when one tribe would just be absorbed into another tribe. Then it'll be 2 tribes. Then 2 people go home. Then we merge, and then something like that. But I'm with Sarah. Like when we merge, we merge.
I think, okay, they're making it a little more heartless because it's the new era. It's 13 less days. All right, let's find other ways to like make it a little more heartless.
What, like a double elimination on day 3? Yikes.
I feel you. Well, needless to say, I definitely think that we're fully merged. We've got a jury member. And now I think the second half of the game will probably start within the next 2 episodes.
Well, I think we're going to see a couple easy votes, and then we'll see the second half of the game.
With 2 episodes left.
Maybe.
Okay. But regardless, I still think that we have the makings of still a great season. I'm sure Sarah would agree with me that say what you want, but the pre-merges are the best part of most seasons. And if this pre-merge is any indication as to how this season will end, we're in store for a good season because we have some pretty great pre-mergers. And shout out to all the pre-mergers. We see you. You matter.
Yeah, honestly, one of the best group of pre-mergers, I think, in like Survivor history. I want to be friends with every single one of them. Please be my friend.
They're amazing. Shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Bianca. Shout out to Wendell.
Do you have any Britchie awards this week, Brice?
I don't know if I have any Britchie awards. I do have some nominations. I think I'll go out on a limb, and if I were on fire, I trust and believe that Chrissy would put me out. I think Chrissy at Tribal, although it might not have been good for her game, me as a viewer, I'm like, you're saying what I want you to say. And so for that is worth a Britchie nomination.
Yeah, I kind of I don't have a Britchie nominee. I don't know if anyone was Britchtacular this episode in that sense, but I would disagree with the Chrissy nominee, but it's the Britchie. So I'll as long as you don't give the Britchie to, I think it's
well then. I guess
the
Britchie award cannot be given out on a day like today.
Oh my God.
I am screaming.
So I will fold these Britchies back up.
I am screaming.
Wow.
Okay.
We'll hold them for another day.
And for the audio listeners, Wendell just held up a pair of teal underpants. The waistband says the Britchie Award in pink, and it has Brice's face all over it.
I don't know what this fingerprint is. I don't know what this fingerprint is. It just came on it.
Okay.
Why is it on the crotch?
Maybe I edited
Brice likes
it
to put his fingerprints.
Okay. And so this just proves that while y'all think Wendell is asleep during the podcast,
he's putting in a Britchie order.
He is creating a Britchie award.
That's
am
awesome.
screaming.
The first
Sarah,
I'm excited
how
for
was
the first Britchie recipient or the next Britchie recipient to get to try those on.
well, I mean, now that I see what the Britchie Award is, I might actually have a recipient, but
You can have them, Brice. I'm giving them to you. You hand these Britchies out.
Sarah, we thank you so much for coming on and joining Survivor News. How was the first ride on Survivor News?
I mean, it was exciting. A little bit wetter than I thought it would be. But nonetheless, thank you guys for having me, and it was super fun to talk about the game. And I'm really excited to see how the season plays out and see which one of us is correct about the predictions. So should be good.
We will see. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. Jack, it's always a pleasure. Hit them 1 and 2s. Wendeezy, we will see you soon with the Britchie Awards. And don't forget, Brice and Wen is heading to Austin, Texas. Tickets are available. Go to the website, briceandwen.com, and get your tickets. We'll see you next week. We're out.
It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You better listen in public, might make your stomach hurt. Ooh. It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You're trying to unwind, you better get that box wine. It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You're trying to get your snack, you better hurry right back though. It's the Purple Pants. It's the Purple Pants.